Hello, and welcome to another Father of the Day interview as we celebrate fathers this month of June. I'm your host, George, and with me, I have Sean Johnson. And hey, Sean, how are you doing today?
Doing good, George. It's been a good day thus far, and just hoping to continue that way.
Awesome, awesome. Um, we're excited to hear a little. We're excited that you were with us today and hear a little bit more about your unique fatherhood experience. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Sean Johnson. Most people call me Sean John. I am originally from the Chicagoland area, and went to school in Indiana for 6 years, and got my undergrad and master's degree there, and then moved down to Florida to start working here almost 10 years ago, and been here ever since. Met my wife here, and this is where we started our family at, and so. Um, for me, uh, I'm a city boy, but I am enjoying this kind of small town life of living in North Central Florida.
Oh, nice, nice, awesome. So, can you just start off by telling us a little bit about your fatherhood journey and how it began?
Yeah, so to me, that's always an interesting question because I think there's the fatherhood journey of like my kids that have my bloodline versus the kids that like to say have my DNA. And so
Mm.
what I get at is that so when I have a background working in higher education, so working with college students, and so I've had many college students over the years that I've kind of mentored or done some life coaching with that have said like, hey, you've been the father figure role that I've needed. You've been a father figure to me in this season of life. And so, I think my on jump, like I think my fatherhood journey in some way has started, over 10 years ago with, just being a mentor life coach, playing a role of just being there for different people when they were looking for that kind of strong father figure in their life at a time of transition. Now, when it comes to my bloodline, I would say that that started in I'd like to say on a nice cold day, December 31st, 2017. My wife and I were sitting at an IHOP, and we decided that at the start of 2019 we would um, go ahead and start trying to have a family. And so, I think for us, like I like to say, December 31st, 2017 is the day in terms of the family that has my blood flowing through them. But it's been well over 10 years, and I like to say that I've been able to play a father figure role to many, and I've had many individuals ask me to be a godparent to their children as well.
Oh, wow, wow, that's an interesting fatherhood journey, and there will be a few or a lot of people that could resonate with that, being that father figure to people that and that's beautiful. That's beautiful because we need it, you know. And
Definitely, definitely.
so how many? So we know how many biological kids do you have? Because we know you have a lot of kids.
Yeah. No, so when I look at these questions, I think of these questions, and so I tell people I have four kids, one living. So my wife and I, we currently have our daughter Esther, who is a little over 13 months now.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so, but my before that, my wife and I had three miscarriages. And I
Oh,
will
wow.
say that we are one of the people that I think one of the families that we've seen over the years that actually that do count those as a
Mm,
part of our kids. And so
yes.
we had experience where we lived with those kids for a little bit, where we were pregnant with them for a while. So to us, like that is they are our kids. And so anytime I go somewhere, anytime I get asked that question, I tell people I have four kids, one living.
Wow. And and that's a good perspective to put on it because there are a lot of families out there that go through the trauma of carrying a baby and then unfortunately seeing things happen and you lose the baby, and how do you cope with that? And
Yeah.
I would love to hear your perspective on that, because there are people out there that are probably going through it and don't know how to handle it.
Definitely, definitely. So for my wife and I, so we have, like I said, 4 kids. So our first loss was we say our daughter Destiny. Our second is our son KD or King David, and our third was our daughter Faith. And then, like I say, we have our daughter Esther, our rainbow baby. And so for us, I think it was actually naming the one of the big things was naming those losses, and
Mm-hmm.
not just naming it in terms of like this is a miscarriage, this is a lot, like actually naming those kids, because for us, it was grounding the experience in a way of like this is something that we want to acknowledge, and how do you keep acknowledging it by no other way than by giving that experience a name. And so for us it was, that was a huge thing. But also what helped us was we had others around us that truly supported us and acknowledged that. But I know for me, with that acknowledgement piece and having others around it, it was actually my grandmother when one day I was having a conversation with her, and I was saying like, "Oh, you Grommy Gray turned, this age, and you're gonna have your, this many grandkids, and great grandkids with you." And she was like, "Oh no, I have this many great grandkids," and she
Wow.
included like the
Wow.
number, with the losses and stuff. And so I think for
That's
us
beautiful.
that was just that acknowledgement there, and just
Mm-hmm.
recognition of like they are, that bloodline, like they had
Mm-hmm.
her blood running through
Mm-hmm.
them, they had all of that. And so and then the last piece that's helped us, because like you say, other people have this journey. It's, they say one in four, one in
Mm-hmm.
four people. So that means that, like, for my wife and I, that having it happen to us 3 times
Mm-hmm.
over 4 pregnancies, like we are a high percentage for that. But what helped me as a father get through that was I actually like wrote a kind of a poem or like a narrative to my kids, and really just spoke to them of why we named them those names, and why what I really saw that they could have been down the line. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's a beautiful story. Um, I know you mentioned your last daughter is 17 months, right?
Just a little over 13 months, a little over
13
13
months.
months.
13 months. So,
Yeah.
what is her personality like? Who does she
Oh,
act like? You or mom?
oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie, she acts like me. She has my stubbornness. And so that's one of those things that you never want to acknowledge, but she has my stubbornness. And so I will say that she acts like me a lot, but honestly I'm gonna say she acts like both of us, because both my wife and I, because she has my wife's like sense of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I am a very kind of laid back, chill person. I am extroverted in the way of like I love going out and talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, she has my wife's sense of adventure. But what I love about my daughter is probably that, and one of the things I love the most is that she has my sense of people watching. Like
Mm-hmm.
we go to church, and she will just let me hold her and just be looking around at folks and scoping out the scene and everything like that. And it's like one of the funniest things that I have seen, because she just has this look, and she's just slowly panning her head around the room, and kind of just like I say, scoping out the scene of who really is in that space. But I mean, very bubbly, definitely like high energy. As she's grown older, she is a helper at like heart. So she is someone who my wife was telling me this past Sunday when we had her in childcare at church that they the report they gave her at the end was like, oh yeah, Esther's was giving all the new kids or helping all the younger kids, like bringing them this snack or bringing them these different toys.
That's
So
cute.
and so that's both my wife and I as well. Like we are helpers at heart. We have shepherds hearts. We are teachers. And so I think for us that is something that it's amazing to see that in her. I would say she has my sense of style, partly because I'm the one that usually dresses her,
Hmm.
and so I always got to have her looking fly. But I definitely say
Absolutely.
yes, I'm the one now that I'm like, if I see some shoes when I'm out, I gotta get them for her, gotta cop them. But
I'm
no,
the
I think
same
at
way.
the end of the day, yes. And then I lastly say she has my wife's flavor palette though. So my wife is Jamaican, and so that just Caribbean food with all the spices and stuff like that. I didn't grow up. I mean, I grew up very American household. We spaghetti, hot dogs, hamburgers, in the black household, salmon croquette. Who knows what it's
Yeah.
like where this whole thing, but like, I mean, with the way my wife cooks, like, and all the spice, everything, just that family background, my daughter like loves it all. So yeah, so it's funny to see kind of how she plays off of both of us.
Nice, nice. That's beautiful. So what is the most challenging part of fatherhood?
Um, I will say the thing that I've come up with recently of being the most challenging part is understanding actually what it means for you to be a father to your kid.
Hmm.
And what I get at is that I was talking to my wife about this the other day. Is both of us, are we believers in God, believers in Christ, like, and so it's honestly like, you know, my daughter is we are the earthly parents of our daughter, but our daughter belongs to us. We say our daughter belongs to God, and so we are just the stewards that are being used to raise her here on earth, and so one of the hardest parts is with that I think no matter if you're a believer or not, that you can, begin to understand is it's like, what is it that you're actually supposed to be instilling in your kid? What is it? How is it that you're actually supposed to be raising them? Because you're always, I think to this day, my parents are in their late 50s, and like I still learn lessons from them to this day. They have
Hmm.
not, turn their backs on me. They've always been there for me. And so I think about that. I know down the line, I'm I'm gonna still have the opportunity to be there for my kids. But in this, as the years go on, like what is it that I'm actually supposed to be doing for my kid? And because you're not given an instruction manual. Unlike
Right,
everything else that you feel like you have an instruction manual for this. You can look. Many of us fathers can probably look at our house now. We got instruction manuals on instruction manuals for how many other things for this chair that you got to put together, or this toy, whatever. It's instruction manuals for it, but for your actual kid itself, there's no instruction manual. You can
right.
take all the classes, you can read all the stuff, and still not be as clear. And so you still trying to figure out it for your daughter,
Right,
for
right.
your son, for your kid. Like you're really trying to figure it out. And I think that's one of the hardest things, because it constantly changes every day. And
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
you have to understand, like, as your child grows, you have to grow and adapt with them on meeting them where they are. I think that's one of the most difficult things, but also probably one of the things that's going to be most rewarding is meeting your child where they are, each and every day, and knowing that, like, yeah, if it's as simple as, I know we try to keep a bedtime routine from this time to this time, but maybe they took a nap, maybe they ate dinner late. Like, you are adapting and growing, and it's fun and exciting, but it's also one of the most difficult because it's taxing on you, not just physically, but mentally.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And as dads, we don't get a lot of helps and services made just for us. So, what
Yeah.
message do you have to send to society about that?
Uh, I would say you be the voice, like you speak up. I know one of the things I tell people all the time, one of the most frustrating things about the start of my journey with my daughter Esther was being in the hospital. Like, and I know the doctors and stuff
Hmm.
like laughed and joked, the doctor and nurses, because my wife had a big bag and I had a big suitcase and stuff. Well, part of in that suitcase was people were like, oh, make sure you bring snacks and stuff like that. You know, it could be just because you enter the hospital this day don't mean that the baby gonna pop out like within
Hmm.
hours. So you want to be snacked up. And I'm like, okay, bet, like cool. My in middle school, my nickname used to be named Snacks. So like I'm gonna have the snacks. But like I think I'm in seriousness, I'm glad I had those snacks because they didn't have a meal plan set up for me in the
Oh
hospital.
wow! Just for the mom?
Like just for the mom.
Wow.
Like they didn't have a meal plan for me set up. They had lots of ice water. So I remember telling somebody, I'm glad that I have done very extended fast from food
Hmm.
and drinks and stuff like that. Because if it wasn't for that, like, and then I had some, friends bring some stuff, but eventually bring some food. But if it wasn't for me knowing how to fast, like I'm I just I only had ice water. Like,
Wow.
and so, I did have one nurse that was like, "Oh, we had an extra tray of food, so I'm gonna bring it to you." But I mean, other than that, there was no like, here goes a coupon, here goes something, here goes some Nutri-Grain bars, not anything. And so I think, what I say is be the voice, because from there I have been telling people, like, make sure when you go into the hospital, like, that this is how you speak up,
Right.
and truly, set yourself up, because you are, not just a birthing partner, like you are a part of this child's life, and really begin to understand the importance of your role. And so, because it's going to be tough in the get go. But also, I think when it comes to resources and what we need is truly starting to figure out how do we create some of that for ourselves, whether it's through things like this with Father's Uplift, whether it's any other opportunities. It's really just finding that community, but also putting yourselves in different positions. So one of the things that when I get at that, one of the things my wife and I talked about is, I have an interest in becoming a doula, like,
Mm.
and I think that's something where, how cool would that be? Because of course I can be there to support the mom, but I'm also there even more so to support the dad, and they get to see I can help in a way of like, hey, like I know y'all have all this stuff set up for the mom, but like, what are you doing to take care of this father, because he's here as well.
Right. Right.
He's
Absolutely.
not just a name on the birth certificate. He's not just a person that's able to fill out paperwork. And let's not get me started on that, because that's a whole nother thing when it comes to who can fill out and sign paperwork. And so it is
No.
really, I think at the end of the day, what it
Real.
comes down to is, you got to be a voice and an advocate for yourself first, and then create some of those resources and opportunities that's going to um, continue to help motivate you. But most importantly, find a community of fathers. Truly reach out and just ask other people, like, you know, do you know about any resources? And if they say no, find it. As I said, if they say yes, jump on it, and really allow yourself to connect to that community, because it's ultimately going to be very beneficial to you.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said. And what advice would you give a new father about fatherhood? And, and also, what do you wish somebody would have told you?
Mm. The advice I would give is be patient with yourself, because, as I said earlier, like, it's figuring it out each day. I think that right now, I recently transitioned jobs, and it it has put a lot of pressure on my wife. And I think as I had the opportunity after my daughter was Esther was born to be able to spend 6 months at home with her on parental leave, still have
Mhm.
full benefits, everything. But then with the job transition that I've had recently, like I don't have that same amount of time that I had even when I first went back to work after parental leave. And so I think right now it is me telling myself, be patient. And so that's what I would tell a new dad. It's like, be patient. Like you will learn, you will figure it out. It'll come. You're gonna make mistakes, like and it's not a competition. It's with yourself. It's just being patient.
Mhm.
Um, I would say the advice that I think I wish I would have received um, would have been to uh, trust myself more. Like I think there is um you have an opportunity to go into this experience, and of course as you may not know a whole lot, but trust yourself. Like you will get equipped along the way. You will Things will come together from one day to the next, 1 month to the next. And so I think the joke always is that someone told me, well, you know when this was around my last couple months ago when my daughter was turning 1, and they were like, you know what, the 1 year old birthday is, yes, a celebration of the child, but it's also a celebration of you kept the baby alive. Like,
Mhm.
you went through a whole year of this. And so I say all that to say of like, yeah, that came because I end up learning that I needed to trust myself. But I wish someone would have told me that in the get-go, because I think those first 3 4 months, or as they call it, the fourth trimester, would have been very
Mhm.
less stressful. So yeah.
Yes. Well, awesome, awesome. So for the lastly, I have some rapid fire questions. So I'm just gonna say a
Yes.
word. I'm gonna say a word. Just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. The first word is
Okay.
kids.
Kids. Oh, my I think of ladybugs. It's a weird thing, but
All
ladybugs.
right, partner.
Janine.
Fatherhood.
Blessed.
Love.
Agape.
Dad.
Proud. Black.
Sleep.
What is that?
I get that. Everybody says that. Gift.
Esther.
Greatness.
Um, Joy. I don't know why joy, but that's the word that comes to mind. Joy.
And lastly, self care.
Sweet treats.
Nice, nice. Well, Sean, aka Sean John, thank you so much for giving Father's Uplift and time to speak with you today.
Yeah.
It's been very enlightening, and we thank you so much. And happy Father's Day to you and to all the fathers.
Yes, definitely. Thank you much. I appreciate this opportunity to just be an advocate for the growth of fathers all across the world.
Awesome.